Hey everyone, CJF Hotshot here, and Jeremy Adams' Flash run's over. Flash 800 kind of marks like the stop-off point when it comes to Flash runs until September with Flash 801. So in the meantime, we have every Flash run basically completed up till now. So why don't we rank a bunch of them? 11 runs to be exact. It would be 12, but Loebs' run isn't collected in trade yet, and I want to read it physically in trade so that I can say that I supported William Mesner Loebs to read it. But yeah. So yeah, what we're going to do is that we're just going to rank every Flash run, other than Loebs' from 1987 through now. So yeah, and at the very bottom of the list, at number 11, is The Flash by Robert Venditti and Van Jensen. This was the back half of New 52 Flash, and the best way to describe it is DC were like already putting in a bunch of editorial mandates for the Flash, like you can't have Wally West back, Barry Allen has to be the main Flash, you have to keep these villains a certain way, and you can even, and he can't be with Iris. Barry can't be with Iris. And so you already have like all of those like editorial mandates, which you can work with. And then you also have the CW show mandates because the show was starting at the time. And also Dan DiDio tasked them to bring in a new Wally West who becomes Ace West later in the comics. But in the New 52 was framed as Wally's replacement. And just like how with Bartor from the new Teen Titans New 52, and Jay Garrick of Earth 2, not the same guy. But Ace West luckily did become a beloved character later, and now we have Wally and Ace, so that's pretty good. And there's also that like a bunch of the stories weren't really good. Like introducing Ace was a great thing eventually. Like, Ace West is an amazing character right now. But at the start, it was kind of like one note. So, yeah. A bunch of the arcs just boring. The Future Flash arc went on for way too long. The Eobard arc was just, yeah. And then the last arc was Barry fighting the Riddler, which is not what you want for a Flash book. So, yeah, it's not Venditti and Jensen's fault. But you know, something's got to be at the bottom. Number 10, The Flash by Mike Baron. Mike Baron's Flash run is very funny if you read it in 2023. However, this was a run made in the 1980s with a bunch of stuff in the political landscape at the time and things that don't particularly age well. And this is also when Wally West's personality was kind of like at all-time ass-hattery. So with Mike Baron's Flash run, you have to like read it in the mindset of it doesn't take place in 2023, it takes place in 1986. And this is like, yeah. Very funny to read. I do enjoy it more than Venditti and Jensen's run, which is why I have it above theirs. But I can't put it any higher, because I can't exactly call it good, can I? It's probably objectively worse. I just enjoy reading it more. So yeah. Number 9 is Geoff Johns' second run on The Flash. The Flash Geoff Johns Omnibus 3. If you were. The Barry Allen stuff. All of the stuff Geoff Johns did for Barry Allen. Yeah. I don't like Flash Rebirth 2009, and that's like the main like selling point. It's just like they bring Barry back, and all of a sudden he's already an asshole, you know? Like, I love Geoff Johns' Green Lantern run. At least from what I've read, because the trade collection stopped at volume 4. But, like, I love the Green Lantern stuff that Geoff Johns has done. So when Geoff comes back and does the same for Barry, it feels kind of disrespectful to his previous run and Mark Waid's run and everything that came before it. And it also kind of makes me wonder, why did Barry come back if he's going to be acting like this to all the people he's around all the time? And, like, that is, like, Geoff Johns' thing for Barry. You know, is that Barry Allen was, like, an asshat. It's just, like, you can't celebrate him as like the greatest hero to ever walk. You can't be so desperate to bring him back and then immediately make him the least likable person there. You know, like that's not how it works. Like I enjoy Dastardly Death of the Rogues, and I enjoy The Flash Blackest Night. Again, the highs are high, but the lows are low. But the highs aren't as high as a bunch of other runs that we're going to get to later. So all that happens is that Geoff Johns' second run is very low on the list. Yeah. Number 8 is The Flash versus Man Alive. Okay, I know we've had a bunch of writers for this. It was Mark Guggenheim for the last half, and then it was the writers for the CBS Flash show from 1990 who did the first arc. This run was set to fail. I love it though. It's like, yeah, I really like Flash versus Man Alive. Bart Allen, he got done so dirty. However, I can't exactly say where the story was going to go. The first arc meandered along quite a bit, and the last arc's most impactful moments were when Bart died, and then it moved into All Flash. And we'll get to All Flash later, because that's another slot on the list, because it's part of a different run. At least that's how I'm separating it. But yeah, that's just The Flash versus Man Alive, and DC didn't want it to succeed. Dan DiDio did not want it to succeed, and therefore it failed. And that sucks, because I kind of like it. So yeah, we are on the runs I like, even though we are going to get to some runs that I have a few opinions of. I do like FMA, and I do like the runs here on out for the list. With that being said, Joshua Williamson is at number 7. Joshua Williamson's run on The Flash lasted for over 100 issues. The official issue count is 101. However, you also have to include Speed Metal and the Batman issues he did and the annuals, and it all kind of snowballs into 120 or something. The Flash by Joshua Williamson is separated so much into a bunch of story arcs, where it's just if I were to split it in half, it was it would more accurately represent DC's landscape at the time. However, Barry Allen's character journey, I can't track it for Joshua Williamson's run, because I feel like Barry ends in the same place that he does when he starts. Other than he's a little over his mother dying now, but DC are probably going to bring that back one day. So yeah. With that being said, I do enjoy a bunch of the story arcs. The Godspeed arc, Rogues Reloaded, Running Scared is amazing. That's masterclass. I enjoy Flash War. I did enjoy Wally coming back for that and Perfect Storm. However, then we get to the back half, and even Negative and Cold Day in Hell, the Force Quest stuff, and Death in the Speed Force. So it's I don't viscerally hate any story arc. The highs are high, but the lows are low. But there's nothing that I out there hate. But there's not much for me to be attached to for Williamson's run. But I can see it and say, yes, it's a good run on The Flash. Congratulations, Joshua Williamson. You wrote The Flash for over 100 issues somehow. Yeah. At number 6 is The Flash by Grant Morrison and Mark Millar. This run is... It's really weird if you count it as a run, because Waid and Augustin's run was just on pause at the time. And then you get this run right in the middle of it, whilst Mark Waid was busy with Kingdom Come. And Brian Augustin was just busy. And so we get Grant Morrison and Mark Millar on The Flash. And you can see that Grant Morrison has a really great love for the history of the character, and really wanted to do some big things with Wally West. However, he also Grant Morrison's they them. I keep forgetting that for Grant Morrison specifically for some reason. But with Grant Morrison and Mark Millar, they both, there's some things that just feel off. Wally's suit becoming normal, his eyes aren't whited out anymore, they're regular people. That's a bit weird, I believe. There's also we get wacky concepts like Emergency Stop and Human Race, which are great stories, and they're great because Grant Morrison's kind of there to balance Mark Millar out and just say, no, this is how the characters act, this is how the characters are. But then when Grant Morrison leaves the book and Mark Millar is just on his own for 3 issues with the Black Flash arc, you see the cracks form, because it is dull, it is boring as hell. I do feel for Wally in these moments, but I am just get it together, you fucking sad sacks. Honestly, the tone of the arc is just so off considering everything else in the run, and it's just so glaring, which is why I was just glad when Waid and Augustin came back. Also, Pat Mann on art for those 3 issues is just a noticeable downgrade, and I know that you shouldn't judge a run based on the art. However, there are just some stories where the art just helps with. And unfortunately, this run, once Paul Ryan left and once the human race ended, it just kind of nosedived. So yeah. Number 5 is Geoff Johns' first run on The Flash, is Wally West's run. Just like Williamson, I do split this into basically like 2 halves. You have the first half, which is actually like really, really good with Scott Collins. You get Blitz, you get Blood Will Run, and you get Crossfire. Those are great stories. I do think Wally West is characterized quite wrong here. A bit more like how he was in the, it's like a Mike Baron Flash Light in a way, you know? But, the stories are like really well constructed and really well told. And I do give Geoff Johns and Scott Collins props for that. However, then we get to the major problem with this run. It's the back half. Once Blitz ends, it takes like a nosedive in quality. Ignition is one of the worst stories I have ever read. And sure, like, after Ignition, it does get better. Howard Porter gets tapped in for art after Alberto goes. And then, it does start to, like, level out, but it never, ever reaches the highs of, Blitz and Crossfire and Blood Will Run. And so that puts Geoff Johns' first run at number 5. Because Ignition is just terrible. And like, even like the Identity Crisis stuff is so uninteresting at times. Number 4 is The Flash by Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato. I will say that these are some of the first Flash issues individually that I've ever read, like with like all a bunch of like Titans comics reprints, which is like they reprint 2 issues of The Flash and like 1 issue of Green Arrow or whatever. Like, this is how I did start getting into The Flash, so I guess get that there's a bit of bias there. But I'm also biased against Barry Allen, so I guess it balances out. But yeah, honestly, I really like this run. It's like Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato really did Barry well in the New 52, given all of the constraints that they were given. And they are the strong suit of the New 52. You want to read a Barry Allen story, a modern Barry Allen story, go for this run. Like, it's 1 omnibus long. You just get 1 omnibus and you have it all. And you see Barry kind of like come to terms with himself as a character. You get him placed into a bunch of different scenarios. He becomes a bartender for a bit. He had to quit his job at the police department for a bit because he's MIA. And then, of course, you get all these, like, takes on the villains. The rogues have superpowers now. And how is Barry going to deal with that? You have, what is it? You have Daniel West as the Reverse Flash, which is, like, how are you going to deal with that? This guy's, like, parasitic in a way. And he's also, like, related to Iris. And, yeah, I give a lot of credit to this run. And it also helps that since Francis Manapul is both writer and artist, it looks beautiful. Like, Francis Manapul is my favourite, like, Flash artist ever, so I guess that is to be expected, but still, it looks tremendous, it looks stunning, it looks amazing. So, yeah. Number 3 is the Wild West era, so that is all Flash 2007, as well as the Flash 231 to 247. There is, like, no set writer for this, but, like, this is, like, a 1 continuous story arc. And goddamn, for it to, like, switch between a bunch of writers like they do of, like, 52 and Injustice and, like, all the other weekly series, even though this was, like, monthly at the time, it holds together really well. And I wish This Was Your Life, Wally West was printed in trade. And I wish that, like, Flash Fast Money and Flash Wild West were, like, reprinted as well. Because, like, honestly, these are great stories. I love these stories. Yeah, like, Daniel Acuna on art for the first 2 issues is really good. Then we get Freddie Williams' second, which is, like, some of the most top-notch, like, Flash artwork ever. Wally West becomes a dad, and he's, like, fathering his kids, but he's also, like, very anxious, just because, like, how do I afford the rent this month? Linda's making it by as well. And it's just, like, yeah. How does the Flash deal with parenthood? And you get into a situation of Wally has to deal with the anxieties of being a new father. And also racking with the guilt of Bart Allen just died. The guy that you kind of like added as your sidekick, gone, dead, nada. He's gone. How do you deal with that, but also raise your kids to help them save the world at the same time? Oh my god. DC need to reprint this, honestly. I want people to, like, support the creators for this in what way possible. Mark Waid, Tom Peart, Alan Burnett, Freddie Williams II, Daniel Acuna, like, all of them. Like, oh my god, it's so amazing. Just read The Flash, like, the Wild West era. Honestly, you'll love it. You'll love it. Number 2 is The Flash by Jeremy Adams. Is this recency bias? I don't know, maybe, but it is a run you had to be there for. Like, with all of the context at the time of just, like, Heroes in Crisis having happened, Williamson's run kind of being oversaturated, Future State Flash being terrible. Future State Flash was terrible. You ever read Future State Flash? Yeah, don't. And it's just like, suddenly you get this breath of fresh air. Wally is back in the main mantle, and he's going through some shit, you know? And he reclaims his costume. He reclaims pretty much his entire life. And then once you get into, like, Flash 772, it's like picking up where Wild West left off. Like, I said this a billion times. Like, when these issues were coming out. And it's just like, if you just, like, end at 247 and start at 772, nothing has changed except Wally has the white eyes again. And I think that is pretty cool. I love this run. Honestly, like, oh my god. Wally West Returns and Eclipse are already available in trades, and with the trade for, like, the Dark Crisis stuff, and, like, a bunch of, like, the fill-in issues are, like, coming out, like, this month, and it's gonna be amazing, alright? It is amazing. Omega Bandman, Gold Beetle, 1 Minute War. Like, 1 Minute War came out this year, and I was, like, a major champion of that arc, and I 100% love it. Like, put the Flashes in, like, a war-torn battlefield that only they can fight in, because they're the only ones fast enough physically to fight in the war in the first place. Like, oh my god. Like, you see all these, like, characters, and they get brought back slowly and slowly. You get an arc for Linda. Linda gets super speed, and she's, like, going through a bit of a thing of, like, I don't know what I want to do now, but she becomes an author, and writes basically 5 books. Jai and Iray get their own, like, mini subplots, like they did in Wild West, except that, like, it's like acquainting themselves to their, like, normal lives and making new friends. And Wally feels like as jovial as ever, as, like, happy as ever, and it's just, like, such a refreshing thing, and it's what I'm probably gonna miss the most about like Jeremy Adams' run when the new run starts in September. But of course, you can't topple number 1. You can't topple Mark Waid and Brian Augustin's run on The Flash. Alright, 90 plus issues, and all of them were good. I'm sorry, Jeremy, you cannot. You cannot. Physically, you cannot. Like, if you were on for longer, I would compare them, and I would have a really hard time deciding. But this is longer, so it has more good stories, so yeah. Mark Waid and Brian Augustin, this has my favourite Flash story ever. In Terminal Velocity, it has Return of Barry Allen, which is most other people's favourite Flash story. It has Flash Dead Heat. It has Flash Chain Lightning. It has the Dark Flash Saga. It has Flash Hell to Pay. And it even has Born to Run. It's, like, it has the only origin, like, book that I like, Born to Run. Like, Flash Year 1 was lame. Flash Born to Run, amazing. Great storytelling. Because, like, from, like, current Wally's perspective, or the Wally of the Loeb's era's perspective, you know? And, like, oh my god, they're making omnibuses for this. Like, the first one's already out, and I hope the second one's out soon. So yeah, just read The Flash by Mark Waid and Brian Augustin. The first omnibus is already out, and if you buy the Flash Mark Waid omnibus, there is more of a chance of the second omnibus coming faster. So yeah, that's my list. Let me know your lists in the comments below. And also, if you've read Loeb's run on The Flash, where would you rank it? Because I really want to know, because I really want to read it. Because I've only, like, read Nobody Dies. Like, I've only read Nobody Dies and, like, the first 3 issues. And, I think one other. But yeah, I haven't read enough. It's like, no. So, yeah. But until next time, see you all later.